So let's talk about your energy expenditure, basically your movement, and we can shorten that to TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure. And it's governed by 4 different processes. So you have your basal metabolic rate, which is your BMR, your exercise activity, which is your EAT, the thermic effect of food, which is the TEF, and your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is the NEAT. So the biggest of the 4 is the basal metabolic rate, and that's basically the calories that you're going to burn without doing any exercise or any movement. So basically, if you were lying there sleeping all day, you would burn the BMR, and that's the biggest portion of our total daily energy intake. So as we go down, the exercise activity thermogenesis, so that's any kind of exercise that you do. So if you went to the gym for an hour and lifted weights, or went and did body pump, or even went and ran on the treadmill, or played a game of soccer, that's where your exercise activity would come into play. The thermic effect of food is affected by how well your body breaks down the food that you eat, digests it, and extracts the energy from it. So there are certain foods that actually have a bigger thermic effect than the other ones. For example, protein would have a bigger thermic effect than carbohydrates. So that's why during any kind of weight loss diet, I always suggest that you have a higher protein intake, which means that it's going to keep you fuller longer, and also it's going to create a bigger thermic effect in your body. So you might get about 5% more bang for your buck from your food. And the last one, the non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that's any kind of non-structured exercise that you do. So for example, walking the dog instead of taking the car down the shops, walking down to the shops, anything that's not going to get your heart rate super jacked up and make you tired, but still gives you a lot of energy throughout the day. So of the 4 portions of your total energy expenditure for the day, 3 of them are actually not very influential by what you do yourself. For example, your BMR only really is influenced by how much weight you are, your genetics, your sex, and also how much lean body mass that you have. So how much muscle mass compared to fat mass that you have. The exercise activity thermogenesis. Now, a lot of people think that they can use this to be able to increase their caloric output and basically out-train a bad diet. Now, that's not the case, because a lot of the times, once you get into your exercise activity, you're only really doing it for an hour. Maybe 2 hours or even 3 hours if you're fancy and really fit. But the amount of impact that can have is only very minimal. So exercise activity is usually about 10% of your total daily energy expenditure. So not too much. The thermic effect of food, like I said, you might get 5% improvements by eating a higher protein diet. I still suggest that, but there's not really too much that we can do to influence the total daily energy expenditure overall. So we're left with NEAT. So what we can do with NEAT is just make sure that we move a lot more just throughout our day. So this is why I always suggest having some kind of step counter. Maybe you have it on your phone, maybe you have it on a watch, but I always suggest to have it. So you want to be hitting around 10,000 steps a day. You've probably heard it quite a lot. But the main reason for this is that once you start to lose weight, like I said, you lose weight and the BMR will actually decrease. So as we can keep our needs up, we're going to kind of fill that gap. Now, if you feel like you're not losing weight fast enough, then, there's a couple things that you can do. You can decrease your total amount of food, or you can increase your NEAT. So I like using the non-exercise activity to help a lot in boosting fat loss, because it's low impact, it's low intensity, and it's not going to put as much toll and stress on your body. So instead of running for 2 hours a day, maybe you run for 30 minutes of the day, but then throughout the rest of your day, try not to be sitting down on your butt for more than an hour or so at a time. Now, if you're in an office job, it's quite hard to do, but just getting up and taking a couple of walks here and there, taking the steps instead of the lift, parking further away from your building than you usually would. If you're catching the bus, get off an extra bus stop a little bit earlier. Now, by increasing the NEAT, you can actually influence your total daily intake. So 10%, we'll say 60%, we can actually increase your total daily energy expenditure just by increasing your non-exercise activity. So think about different ways that you can use to keep yourself moving, even when you feel like you don't want to move or whatever. Because if you can increase this, It's going to be all fun and games from here. Increase the TDEE. And then the final thing is that basically any kind of weight loss, weight gain, or maintenance will be governed by this. So your TD in EE versus your food. So if it's like that and there's more movement than food, weight loss. If it's equal, weight stays the same. And then if it goes in the opposite direction, then that's weight gain. So think about that. Set up your week so that you've got a lot of movement. Control your food, which will be in the next video.